Hey, good morning, college football fans. We're back to Monday morning. A great week of college football, some great games that were played. But I think the bigger storyline that comes out of the weekend is the AP Top 25 poll. I hope you're seeing the same thing I am. The question that we're going to talk through today is the ratings of the SEC teams. I don't understand how one team drops out of the AP poll for the SEC and two teams come in. And then you look at the ratings and you just can't understand it. I hope you're as disturbed as I am. We're going to dig into it. And that's going to be one of our main themes for the broadcast today. All right. So the first thing you'll notice when you look at the AP Top 25 this week is that there was absolutely no changes in the top six. Two of the teams had a bye, and one of them had I don't know, I'm going to call it a cupcake game, right? Tennessee, I guess you needed some rest, healing. I don't know what it is. I hate cupcake games. I just feel like we ought to be able to put them in there and actually play, get the competition. There's only 4 playoff spots available. We just shouldn't waste a week at all. All right, next thing I'll look at. Who had the best victory inside of the top 10? It's got to be Oregon in my mind. That 15-point win over UCLA definitely was impressive. It advanced Oregon to the number 8 position. I think it almost gives Oregon a shot to make it into the CFP. It's going to take a lot of help, but man, there's a chance that they could get there. UCLA unfortunately falls to number 12. For me, I think the biggest problem is going to be I put out my predictions for the Pac-12 about a week ago. I didn't have Oregon making it. Right now, Oregon is in the driver's seat as the only undefeated Pac-12 conference player. Uh, I don't know. I'm going to have to go relook at that. I'm going to go look at their schedule, see who's playing who. But I think Oregon might have just made their way into the Pac-12 championship game against my prediction. So we'll have to see if there's an amendment that's required. All right. Who was the highest ranked team that lost this week? Ole Miss. And this is where the beginnings of my SEC rant begin. Ole Miss loses to LSU by 25. You see, I even covered the LSU logo on top of the Ole Miss logo. I mean, it was that bad. I don't even think I can give Ole Miss like a full view right now. All right. But in the process of this, Ole Miss only falls to number 15. Right? I think that's a bit of a gift. It's like the very minimum of where I would have let them fall. I think they should have fallen to about 20. All right. But here's where I think the injustice really begins. LSU comes in at number 18. It's just not there. I mean, it's a great win. Don't get me wrong, but go look at the rest of their schedule. Go look at they were already in the top 25 once before and lost. Coming in at 18, I think someone's just trying to create a rating situation for a game that's coming up, probably against Alabama in the next week or two. That's the only reason why I think this could be there. I'm not happy with that, and it's my first of many injustices as you look across this thing. All right, finally, the top gainer. Penn State goes up 3 points this week. The biggest loser we talked about was Ole Miss. All right, well, let's look at the second half of the table. One of the first things we'll notice is who's not here anymore. So who's not here? The dropouts were Mississippi State and Texas. No surprises for either one of these given their losses and that. But it does take us into kind of the beginning of my statements that I'm making about SEC favoritism that are going to be all throughout this broadcast. Mississippi State, SEC team. So one SEC team comes out and two SEC teams come in, LSU and South Carolina. Already talked about LSU coming in extremely high in the poll, but now we've got South Carolina taking that last favored spot within the top 25 real estate, if you will. So why am I not happy about them being here? Well, it's their overall body of work that they've got. They've got losses to Arkansas and they've got losses to Georgia. Their wins are against Kentucky, and that wasn't the one that put them in the top 25. The win that put them in the top 25 was on Saturday against Texas A&M. I'm sorry, Texas A&M is not the one that drives my mind to say, hey, you belong in the top 25. Just isn't there. So that's why I think there's just all this bias that's going on, and you got that grouping of sports writers that just vote along the SEC block all the time. All right. So who should have been there? Well, in my mind, it should have been Liberty. So a quick look at what they've done. They've got a 6-1 schedule. Their only losses to Wake Forest. And this weekend, they just beat, granted, a very struggling BYU team, but a BYU team that showed a lot of promise very early on in the year, ranked up to 16 just a few weeks ago, right? So that's where I think we should have gone. There's probably other teams that are out there in the group of 5 that are sitting with 1 or 2 losses that are maybe better choices than someone who just beat Texas A&M, and definitely outside of the whole SEC visibility that's there. So that's where I would have gone with it, and this is kind of where I'm sitting with my SEC disparagement for the day. Okay, the other thing that I thought about talking about today was how teams could have done if they just didn't play, because this week they could have done extremely well. So particularly Southern California, they didn't play. They went from 10th to 8th, moving up 2 slots. Pretty good in some really prime real estate where there's not a lot of room to move. All right. Moving up 1 slot for not playing was Utah, Illinois, and North Carolina. Not changing, just holding ground, was University of Kentucky. We might throw Georgia and Michigan into this as well, but I was looking at it more from the bottom half of the table where there was just a lot of movement, puts and takes going on, things like that. When you're sitting in the top 5, there just was no movement up there, period. All right. And lastly, and I don't get this one, why is North Carolina State dropping a position for having a bye? I didn't think we were punishing them. And especially when you look at all of the movement that happened within the top 25, that one doesn't make a lot of sense to me. Hey, I did an extra little segment in here today where we're going to look at the AP top 25 and the conferences that basically group these guys together to see who's got the most representation. So the lowest amount of representation, the only non-Power 5 team conference that's represented is the American Athletic Conference with Cincinnati and Tulane. The Big 12 comes in with 3 teams, TCU, Oklahoma State, and Kansas State. I honestly thought they had another team in here, but not in the week 8/9 poll that's out there. In terms of those that have 4 teams each, we've got the Big 10 and the Pac-12. I do expect to see some movement here between Ohio State and Michigan as they play each other later in the year. I'm also not totally convinced that Illinois hangs in there. They're doing much better than I originally said when they came in, but they came in from nowhere. I'm not sure who they're going to play across these 3 teams on their schedule. I think they get a loss or 2 and they're going to fall out. All right, ACC, generally very surprised here. 5 teams from there. When I look at them, though, like none of them are teams we haven't been in the conversation. So I just lost track, didn't realize there were actually 5 teams in there. My bad. I guess I got to give a few more props to the ACC. And here's the crux of what we wanted to talk about. The SEC has 7 teams in there. And obviously, I feel as though this one, the South Carolina team, is completely undeserved. And I would put, a Liberty or somebody like that in there. And I don't think LSU sticks around very long. I think they were put in way above where they're playing at number 18. And they're going to fall. I could see them falling completely out again, especially after the Alabama game. I really think Alabama is going to just knock these guys around, and everyone's going to say, why were they in the top 25 again? But, there you have it. That's the makeup of the AP. You don't think there's a bias here to get 7 teams, half the conference in? I've got some land to sell you or a bridge to sell you out in the middle of nowhere. So give me a ring. But disagree with me. Drop your comments. Let me know. All right, here's my resume rankings. I basically do this looking at the games that the teams have played. It is not a predictor of who the best team is in the country. It only says who has played the best schedule and won so far. And when you look at it from that perspective, your Clemsons and TCUs are definitely a step above a lot of the other teams that are out there. Looking at it, though, in terms of like where the movement was within this mathematical formula and table, you've got Oregon gaining 7 points with this win over UCLA. I think that makes sense. UCLA having been ranked number 10 at the time. And you've got Ole Miss falling to 7 points for losing to an unranked LSU. In many ways, these guys just swapped spots on the table. This table works very dynamically. If teams you beat fall out of the top 25, you will lose value in those games. It's intended to be a little bit more like the BCS power rankings, and I'm really anxious to see those rankings come out because I do think we do have a problem in the AP top 25 with both Michigan and Ohio State sitting there in those top 4 positions. And I just don't think that it's totally justified at this stage for what they've played. Maybe as they play each other, one of them will prove it and the other one should fall out. But I don't see it right now. All right, that's our show for this week. So we asked the question, is the SEC being favored? Did LSU coming in at number 18, is that an overrated for them? Are they going to fall out quickly? We asked the question, South Carolina, did they come in inappropriately? And perhaps a Liberty or somebody like that should have been there. We looked at the overall makeup of the AP top 10 or top 25. We saw that there were 7 SEC teams in there. And we got to ask the question, is that right? Should there be a different distribution in there? Is the mid-tier of the SEC really that much better than the tops of the other conferences that are out there? I personally don't think so. I think there's a lot more room for competition. And I think if we actually played real games in September, we might actually get to see them. Maybe if we can get a college football playoff that goes a little bit bigger, we'll get a different chance to see some of those. But it is what it is for now. So there you have it. Respond to those questions in the comments and let me know what you think. We'll talk with you later. Bye. All right. And lastly, we just have this little Easter egg for you. This is my cousin Jackson. He's down, or my nephew Jackson. He's down from Montana this week. We had dinner together last night. We talked college football for a good portion of it. He's agreed to go and subscribe to the show, watch it up there in Montana, and bring all the other boys that he hangs out with into the program as well. So, Jackson, looking for you to subscribe. Looking forward to hearing the comments from Montana. We'll talk to you later. Bye.